the very early beginning of Stone Sapiens goes back to about 1.5 million years ago when Homo erectus, who also has become kind of famous by now, Homo erectus, it's like the first human that really gets shit done,
They get moving.
Yeah, they move. Yeah.
And why were they moving?
Why were they moving? I mean, then you can examine exactly where they originated, which was, I mean, it's also disputed by now that it's the Great Rift Valley, that only the most fossils have been found there, but that doesn't mean that they originated there. Maybe they originated in the Central African rainforest where fossils disintegrate, and only there in the Rift Valley we still find it. So, but we know for sure that in the Great Rift Valley there was a plant called cut, which is like a plant speed. So they were using that. It's still being used now in these countries, in Ethiopia, Yemen, around the Horn of Africa. Cut is very normal to use. You chew the leaves and it gives you, like, it's like an amphetamine. It's a plant amphetamine, basically. So Homo erectus, there's no proof that they actually used it, but they were living in that area and the plant was there. So you can write about that. So it's interesting because they were able to do certain things, like they shed the fur. They were the first ones to suddenly be naked. And that has the effect that sweat glands are produced. Homo erectus could sweat it out, basically, when they were very hot. What animals couldn't do because they had the fur. So an antelope can run faster as a Homo erectus, but after 10 minutes, the antelope has to stop. Like what dogs do. Like the tongue goes out, and humans didn't have to do that because they were sweating. So they developed the jogging mode, basically. So they were jogging. They were not sprinting to get the animal. They were jogging it. And when the animal couldn't do it, had to rest, then the humans would come and hunt it down. So Homo erectus was was evolutionary, very good. And then later, one of the species coming out of Homo erectus is Homo sapiens. And Homo sapiens, at one point, there were only about 1,500 people left. There were not a lot of Homo sapiens. There was a point in time when there were quite a few of them. And the problem became inbreeding. And there was a real danger of extinction. They were vulnerable, they were not on top of the food chain yet. So they had to develop consciousness. Consciousness is what basically saved us from extinction. Without the human consciousness, we wouldn't be here. That is what made us in the end then superior to the other animals. So how did this happen? You can kind of trace how they moved. You can trace that they went through the Central African rainforest. And there's one plant there which elephants like, and that's iboga. And iboga now is like the hot thing of the psychedelic renaissance. Iboga. But it's also the oldest drug in the book, basically. They saw that elephants were eating iboga, the root and the leaves, and suddenly we were walking backwards and we're behaving in an unusual way. And then people were also using this. And this was going on over 100,000 years in the rainforest. So you can write a story about that, was it maybe iboga? Of course, you can't prove it. Maybe the frontal cortex grew by itself,
That's a really compelling story. That's one of the great mysteries of how did the light turn on?
Right.
The magic of human cognition and consciousness and the
like Sapiens by Harari, which is a great book. He also misses that. When he comes to those moments, he writes we don't understand how the first cognitive revolution and the second cognitive revolution actually happened. So I find it interesting to kind of look, could it have been drugs? I include everything he leaves out. I look at thoroughly.
I mean, he does a good explanation of interesting consequences. Our ability to imagine ideas and share them and collaborate on them, and the imagination, all that kind of stuff. But the why, the transitions of why did it happen? He doesn't provide, right? I mean, there's some theories, but if iboga is one of them, that's a compelling one. That's a really compelling one.
Yeah, I'm still researching this book and writing it. I also want to go there because they still take iboga in Gabon, for example. I also interviewed one of the leading iboga experts at Columbia University, and for Stone Sapiens, and he described how Iboga works in the brain, because and he's never taken Iboga himself.
Oh, interesting.
He just relies on the data. He doesn't want to be personally influenced, but he said he will take it at a certain point in time. But right now he's still just working on data, just with patients, and what he found, and also examining in the brain through brain scanners what actually happens. And like classic psychedelics like LSD or psilocybin, they dock at certain points, they interact with certain receptors. It's quite well understood how they work. And he said Iboga is completely different. It's like, and he also showed this with his hands because he's so mesmerized by his own findings. Like it's kind of everywhere at the same time in the brain. Like he says, it's like a spa for the neurons, basically. Like it is his findings show, and these are academic findings at Columbia, that it's like as if he said to me, as if Iboga would know our brain from a long time. Like it knows exactly, like if you're addicted to something, or if you're depressed, a depression literally is a depression in the neuronal network. A depression is a thought loop, for example, or a system of thought loops that I'm not worthy, I'm not whatever, I can't do it. You always go back, like this is it really kind of depresses your brain in a way. And Iboga sees this immediately and kind of takes the depression out and makes your brain basically well again. So that this is what his findings are. So he says he's totally convinced this is like he doesn't call it a plant, he calls it like a neurotechnology of the 22nd century. So Iboga really seems to be in a different kind of category. That's why I really feel that Stone Sapiens must be written, because there's so much that historians just shied away from.